Here.
Bruce Miller,
Here.
John Clark,
Here.
Chris Colbert,
Here.
William Gilbert,
Here.
Tricia Griffin,
Here.
Scott Tracy.
Here. Thank you. Public comment at the beginning of any meeting. Any member of the public may address the Airport Commission on any subject matter within the jurisdiction of the Airport Commission that is not on the Commission's agenda. Total time for public comment is 15 minutes. If you wish to address the Commission, deliver the public speaker request to speak form, which we have one. Are there other requests to speak forms?
I have none.
All right. From Mr. Carl Hopkins.
Good evening. My name is Carl Hopkins. I'm the president of the local chapter of the Experimental Aircraft Association, the EAA. And I'd like to report that 2 Saturdays ago, now it was October 8th, the Santa Barbara EAA and Santa Ynez EAA chapters working together held another Young Eagles Day. This is a situation where the pilots volunteer their time and money and gas and airplanes and fly kids between the ages of 8 and 18 to give them a first flight experience. They all generally, unless they wish otherwise, fly just one kid per airplane, meaning they also get to fly the airplane. We used Santa Ynez, and in this last instance, we all flew the same basic patterns, which was to take off, do a left downwind, fly down to the end of Lake Cachuma by the golf course, turn north, go over to the other side of the Cachuma, and then fly back down and do a standard landing pattern. So it's about a 20-minute flight. The kids get to fly about 12 to 15 minutes of that. We flew 51 kids this last time. That took, there were 12 pilots and about 10 ground crew, so it takes a substantial effort on everybody's part to get that done. We started, the kids were supposed to be there at 9 o'clock, and I think we finished at 1:30 or 2, something along those lines. One of the actual problems we have is how to get the correct number of kids there, because if we were to advertise, we might get 300. And if we just let pure word of mouth, we might get, 10. So we worked through different groups, and this time one of the principals was the Santa Barbara Airport's own Lynn Houston, who has a charity called A Different Point of View. She acted as the coordinator. She was a person that, although I dealt with all of the different groups, she was the principal, I would say principal coordinator, and helped me a great deal. We had people from Santa Barbara High School, Santa Barbara Junior High School, the Santa Barbara Housing Authority, the Carpinteria High School, a group called Safe Launch, and also the Police Activity League. I think that's their PAL. And there may have been some others that I left out there, but that was where we got the bulk at this time of the 51 kids. Now, I've done this a number of times, and in fact, this was the first time I had this experience. 3 out of the 4 kids that I flew in on Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago, had never been in an airplane before. This has never been in a light airplane. They had never been in a plane. Wow. And talking to several other pilots, they had the same experiences, that on the order of half of those kids had never been in an airplane before. Most of the kids previous years had some kind of, even if it was a commercial flight, they'd had something. But so this group was a particularly special and extremely excited group of kids, and it was a really good time. The 2 chapters do this once or twice a year. We used to do it only in May. Recently we've been doing it May and October. We're still trying to decide. It's a major effort to do it twice a year, but we'll do it a minimum of once a year, and I'm sure we'll get another group, particularly working with Lynn and some of the others and the folks at Safe Launch, to get another good crowd. Normally speaking, the Santa Barbara Visitor Center with Tim Lawton provides a number of kids, but his program is one that goes throughout the year and ends in May, so we didn't link up with him this time. But hopefully we'll do one in May and can link up with him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something, please?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for that, Ms. Houston, too, for that. I'm sorry I had kids lined up, but I couldn't preempt school activities. What is the maximum number that you can take? Do you have any idea?
I'm going to go out on a limb, and both Les Clark, who's the president of Santa Ynez Club, and I have both been trying to do 100 in one day. Our high is 83. October a year ago, we flew 83 kids. That's one of the reasons we may drop back to only once a year so that we can get a larger number of pilots. I believe we had 12 this year. We can get up to 15 to 18 if we plan it in advance, and with that number, we could do 100. So that's been our goal. One of the gentlemen who flies kids over there, who has a 1948 Cessna 140, has now flown over 50 young eagles over the last number of years. I've got a ways to go to get there, but in time. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your efforts. Maybe next year the kids, or next time the schools won't preempt. That comes first.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for that report. On Wednesday, October 13th, 2011, at 5 p.m., the Airport Commission Secretary duly posted the agenda on the bulletin board at the Airport Administration Office. Also, the Ground Transportation Subcommittee will meet on Thursday, October 27 at 1:30 p.m. in the Airport Administration Building. Minutes from the last meeting.
I'll make a motion that we waive the reading and approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All those in favor of waiving the reading and approving the minutes from the previous meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. The consent calendar.
I'll move for approval of the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
There is a motion to approve the consent calendar with a second. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion to approve the consent calendar is carried. Liaison reports. We have no liaisons from, no one liaisoning from Santa Barbara or Goleta. So that moves us to administrative reports.
Okay, our first item is our quarterly tea hanger lottery. And this evening, we only have one person, so I think we'll dispense with the basket
Two.
Our shining moment.
and entertain a motion or to add this individual to the list.
Is there a motion?
Make the motion, we put
Second.
Mr. Hines on the list.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adding Mr. Heinz to the waiting list signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Oh, we're on to
Financial
the-
report.
All right, financial report for the first quarter ending September, and Mrs. Johns will give that report.
Good evening. The first quarter ended September 30th, and so I wanted to give you a little background on the assumptions that we made when we put the budget together last December. We thought, once again, that we would occupy the terminal at least by July 1st, since we didn't make it in April. Airline activity and passenger traffic we thought would be flat because of the economy and the mergers that were going on with the airlines. Landed weights we felt would decrease because of change in equipment. And, okay, that's how new. Okay. So actual terminal opening was delayed 6 weeks, as you know. August 18th was the first day of operation. Airline activity is actually down 9% in this first quarter. The load factor, however, is up, obviously, because what seats we have, we're filling. And landed weights are as projected. They're still down. Boarding bridge fee, we had assumed early on that we would have $104 per turn. We also factored in a parking rate adjustment to take place when the parking lot, short-term parking lot is completed, and that was initially scheduled for February of 2012. And we felt that we would have an increase in revenue from the gift shop, so we were pegging that at $1.35 per in-plane passenger, and from the restaurant, $3 per in-plane passenger. So the boarding bridge fee was reduced, as you'll recall. We finally got agreement towards the end of June for $42 a turn. So the adjusted parking rate is still on track. We still can do that and will be doing that. In-plane passenger revenue are above projections. The gift shop is actually $2.30 for the first month, because September was the first full month that we had, and they averaged $2.30 for the gift shop, and the restaurant for that same month was $3.53. So they really are doing better than we thought. Rental car revenue, we said, would be less because we had competitively bid that concession, and the minimum annual guarantees came in less than what we'd had the prior 5 years. Non-commercial aviation we felt would be flat, and commercial industrial flat. Rental car revenue, it's meeting our projections. Non-commercial aviation is increasing, 7.3%, which is really significant. The majority of that is general aviation landing fees and an increase in fuel flowage fees. Commercial industrial properties, Rebecca continues to do an excellent job, and they're actually ahead of budget by 3.2%. Airline terminal concessions, as you'll notice, even though I told you that the gift shop and the restaurant are up, the variance is off 5.72%, and most of that is parking is behind because we factored in an increase, but even with that, we're not tracking the same period last year. But we've also had a decrease in in-plane and deplane passengers. Concessions are lagging. They could actually make up more between now and the end of the year just because they're exceeding our targets. Commercial aviation budget, building rental is below. A couple of reasons. One, we delayed going in, so we missed a month and a half of revenue. Plus the boarding bridge, excuse me, the boarding bridge fee, we had anticipated $448,000 in the year, and we're going to be way short of that this year. $270,000 will not be generated. Landing fees are down, but since the airlines switch equipment and frequencies, excuse me, that'll probably come back up, I think. So our total revenues first quarter is $3.4 million. Oh, I forgot, interest is down. And as you know, those are the investments that Finance Department does. And TSA reimbursement last year, because of the delays in authorization in Congress, our reimbursement from FAA on our contract was delayed. And what we're seeing now is we're catching up with those months that we didn't get paid last year before end of year. So hopefully this line item could go above target, or at least meet target. Our revenues are 3.5% below budget. That's the first time that's happened to us. On the bright side, expenditures are below budget, too. Expenditures for this first quarter, $2.8 million. They are 9.8% below budget. Salaries and benefits, interestingly enough, in the first quarter, the way the pay periods for the city work, every 2 weeks, we had an extra pay period. 6 Fridays, I think we had at one time or something, so that threw in an extra pay period. It'll balance out by the end of the year, obviously. But we are a little ahead on that. We still have vacancies in patrol and maintenance. We do have furlough savings of $27,000 accrued. Supplies and services are below, primarily because we didn't occupy the terminal, so we haven't had the expenses. Electricity, you'll recall, was an item that we were concerned about because of the big building and the new equipment, the elevators, escalators, and boarding bridges. It's on target. We had factored in an additional $160,000. So our first full month's bill was right at $19,000, and it used to be $5,500 for the terminal. Special projects, parking shuttle is always like a month behind in getting their invoices to us. And the airport boundary survey that began last year, that Owen Thomas is doing, that $160,000, we carried that forward, and that's still underway. So our revenues, I think at the end of the year will be below target. But with the delay in the terminal opening, we have legitimate reasons for that with the delay. And then the final airline rates and charges when we had to negotiate on the boarding bridge. Expenditures are also below, so we could have some savings possibly in utilities and supplies. That concludes my report. Any questions?
As you're anticipating those two, will they balance each other out, in your opinion? The reduction in expenditures and the reduction in revenues, will they be somewhat even?
Possible. It could be that we could do that, but we don't have as much flexibility in the operational budget as we do, as we have historically, just because of the new terminal. But we're certainly going to be very conservative on our expenditures to try and keep it that way. And hopefully with the parking rate adjustment, I believe we factored in 3 months revenue, so it's conceivable that we could go earlier with that and generate a little bit more. So we'll do it.
Very good.
And then too, when we meet with the airlines, if we don't balance, then recall that it's kind of like a residual agreement, so we can go back in and say, one, you didn't take all the space you told us you were going to take, and two, this negotiation. So the rates with airlines next year could go up.
Very good. Very good to hear. And just a curiosity, and there may not be an answer to this question, but the non-commercial increase, is there a reason for that?
Non-commercial aviation?
Yes.
That's general aviation, and that's a GA landing fee that we have. There seems to be a substantial increase in corporate traffic.
Excellent.
I'm not exactly sure why, but we do see that in the numbers that are coming in.
Good to know.
Okay.
Thank
They're
you.
not flying commercial.
We don't have any seats to give
I
them.
think I know where they came from.
Right.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Are we saving is, I'm a little confused on this overtime spending versus what we save in furlough. Are we spending more on overtime than we're saving in the furlough? Are we?
Well, but we can't use overtime to fill furlough.
I think
I think it's two different
things. Right. Overtime with patrol, we are using overtime to stretch their schedules to cover the necessary tasks that they need to do. And we are also having furlough, which averages around 5% of our salaries. But that total 5% is sort of separate and apart from the salaries and benefits package.
Because I'm a little confused. If we're not saving any money because of the furloughs, maybe we ought to, of course, I don't know how you would look at it, to have selective furloughs instead of paying overtime that people could work, All right, thank you very much.
Well, generally, the employees who are accruing the overtime don't have the furlough to the extent that we do in terms of administrative employees. In fact, this is the first year that Airport Patrol has some hours of furlough that they'll take. In the past, they haven't. They made up for it in other kind of monetary concessions that they made. So I don't know that you can exactly, they're not working overtime because of the furlough. And the furlough is, we're getting paid less, I guess, is how it goes.
Thank you.
Isn't there also, because there are a couple positions on the patrol open, isn't that what is necessitating the overtime?
Yes.
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
So you would be paying it in straight time or overtime, it would still be in the budget. Right now, it's just at time and a half.
Yes.
Very good. Does that help?
No, that's all right.
I might be able to help a little
Because
bit. When we
overtime,
have,
quite often, like in the case of some of the Santa Barbara areas, is much more than what it would be if you had employees. So, but that's all right. We don't have those
The point
intimate
that we were
numbers.
making, Commissioner, was the fact that if we had the employees, we wouldn't be paying the overtime.
I might be able to help clarify it a little bit. When I have employees out on furlough, I don't ever backfill that with overtime. When we have employees working overtime, everybody's here. They're not coming in because somebody's out on furlough. So just,
I like
help
that
clarify.
answer. Thank you.
okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, this is really more of a technicality. On the, Hazel, this has nothing to do with your presentation, but it has to do with an exhibit that's in this package, the financial report. There are 2 footnotes to supply services and special projects. Special services, supplies and services are just footnotes. There's a parenthetical 1, and a special projects are parenthetical 2. Is that a footnote? Or is that a... Under, this is in the
Right, I see the report, and I see where we have the
parentheticals.
1s and the 2s, but we don't have any notes to go with it.
Right.
Right.
Are those
Carry forwards from other reports, I believe.
ignored then?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries.
Maybe.
Also, a question on the same report. I noted that you, for the quarter, you haven't posted or at least displayed any revenue from the boarding bridges. Is that just hasn't been posted, or you didn't have
They
that
pay
number?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, they pay in arrears, and so September billing, we really won't receive until October. And we have received some, but it came in, I don't know how to say this. So what the boarding bridge fees that we collected for the half a month of August were billed on September 20th. And so by the time they get in, it's past the end of the month, so that's why it's not showing. So we have billed, but they do it on the 20th of the month for the prior month, and so we're always lagging behind. Does that make sense?
I thought you generally posted revenue on an accrual basis.
But we have to receive the reports for the number of operations that they use it. That's how, it's like
Okay.
landing fees.
So it's not a matter of actually receiving the payment yet. It's just you don't have the report.
We don't have the
Okay.
information in order to bill. That's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
Is there a motion concerning the financial report? Actually, we already received it, so I guess there would not be. My apologies. Selection of committee members for the master plan. There need to be up to 3 commissioners to participate on the master plan advisory committee. Are there commissioners that would like to self-appoint?
Well, I
Yeah.
realize it's a great deal of time, but I'd like to volunteer.
As would I.
So would I.
Very good. We have 3 commissioners that would like to be on the Master Plan Advisory Committee. Are there any others? Do we move for that, or how do we proceed with that?
Either you can take a vote on it, or if there's only 3, you can just do it by,
Is there,
what do you call it?
I have a question, and this is, I don't know how to put it delicately. John is termed out in December.
Of
unless
this year?
there's- Unless there's been appointments and coming on. I haven't heard. So I have no objections, except if there is that point.
let me answer that question, because I asked the same question prior to the meeting. Procedurally, if you term out and you're no longer a commissioner, you can't serve on a subcommittee as a representative of the commission. you can attend the committee meetings, the commission meetings, as a member of the public. So that would be a valid point. I term out at the end of December of 2012, and the estimated time involved in this committee, subcommittee, would be approximately 18 months. So the majority of that work would be completed by December of 2012.
Mr. Chair, on our list, and we could verify this, but I have you being termed out on December 31st, 2014.
Even better. I think I can finish by then.
One would hope.
We will confirm that,
Late
but-
breaking news has been confirmed of that number. So I would like to be on that committee since Commissioner Clark cannot finish his duly appointed duties.
I have no problem with it, I was just curious.
Well, now we know. Point of order.
Sure, but you already asked it, thank you.
Since we have 3 commissioners that would like to serve on that subcommittee, I would like to put a vote to the commission to approve that slate.
I will
So-
move for approval of that slate.
And is there a second of that motion?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of approving that slate signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then let it be said that the master plan subcommittee will be Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Miller, and Commissioner Martin. And,
Oh, okay.
correct?
That's great.
Oh, it's
You give me those looks and I get myself frightened.
Well, you
So
mentioned
John Clark.
John Clark, so I was
I just got,
confused.
He,
he asked me.
Oh,
I
okay.
did not.
Self-acts.
All right, I just want to make sure I have it right.
I was deemed
Ineligible.
ineligible.
Oh, okay.
A heartbeat away. I believe we move to the director's report.
Well,
Okay.
2.
Move on from my state of confusion here.
That's where I'm from.
Okay. Our passenger count for September was down 6% compared to September of last year, and then year-to-date, we're down 4.5%. And for probably those that are watching, you probably all know our report that Hazel just gave for the quarter when she mentioned passenger count being down is a different number than this number because that number, her number was based on the fiscal year. This is a calendar year.
Okay.
And there is a difference in how the numbers come out. The other,
That's as clear as mud now. Thank you.
It's how you add it up.
did I confuse you more?
Who's
No,
counting,
I-
right?
Okay.
But we are going to have to separate the two of you, I believe.
I know, I'm going on calendar years, she's going on fiscal years. The other item that I wanted to point out was that the terminal project, if you haven't been over there to see the old terminal, it's a shadow of its former self, or actually it is its former self.
Less.
Yeah, and the building pad, which it will be moved to, is completed, and in the next several, I don't know, probably before the first of the year, the building will be moved into location. I'll let you know when that's going to be. We'll have a little event. We were just discussing it today, and if it's midnight, it'll be a different kind of event than it would have been at 4 in the afternoon, so.
Cheers.
But we will celebrate it. There are many people that would like to watch it. And the other thing that I wanted to point out was today, Hazel and Rebecca and I attended the 7th Annual Mayor's Breakfast, where the mayor and PathPoint and other organizations that serve those with disabilities give awards to businesses and individuals who have, furthered the service to the inaccessibility to the community. And the terminal project, or in the airport, for the terminal project, was awarded the Design and Accessibility Award for providing accommodations to create equal and aesthetic access. And so we were pretty proud to receive that. So that's it.
The glass boarding bridges.
We're going to have to get a room for all the terminals. Build
A
an
trophy
addition.
case in the terminal.
Yeah, an
Perhaps
addition
in
to
the
the
new
terminal.
museum.
It's in the new museum.
Oh.
Upstairs in the,
This is our awards keeper over here. And that's all that I was going to point out on the director's report. If there are other items that you'd like me to report on, I would be happy to.
One point that I wanted to make public was that Ms. Ramsdale was featured in Casa Magazine on the cover and a substantive article, and there will be an autograph signing, I believe, at the next commission meeting. So congratulations
I
on
was
your
going to say there
award.
would be one at Borders, but Borders doesn't exist here anymore.
But truly, congratulations
Well,
on
thank
your,
you.
on your
Yes,
acknowledgement.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
There were other pictures in that CASA article as well of those that attended the award ceremony.
The terminal got
Commissioner
the
Clark.
other award. So,
Ms. Griffin.
got a couple of really good
And
awards.
Commissioner Gilbert was there earlier. So we had, it was a great event.
Nice.
And of course, Ms. Johns was in the photo as well.
Copies are available at the airport administration office.
Oh, yes, I sent them the article today, our
Yes.
article on Airport Improvement Magazine.
That was a great article.
Yeah,
They
they
really nicely covered it.
spent a lot of time, the writer, on putting it together, so.
Will you have
Yeah.
hard copies of that
Yes,
as well?
it was.
Yes, we do.
Excellent. I would be interested in having one.
It needs to be sent out to all those people that are going, but why did you change it? In response.
Are there any other mentions from the commission? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Adjourn.
All right.